first we'll start from beginning. Any key features in Snowflake Cloud Data Warehouse. So when you compare to any other traditional databases, so the answer is the any key features in Snowflake. So one is auto scaling, zero copy cloning, time travel, multi-cluster virtual warehouse, and all the data is compressed, encrypted, and stored in columnar format. Okay. And why Snowflake? Many of the people they will call it as Snowflake is a 5-star cloud data warehouse. Why it is? So should I type or should I explain?
Good morning.
Okay, so few minutes.
You can type, that's better. I can understand you.
Okay.
Type
so,
the questions better. Question on the answers explain.
Yeah. What is InIQ about Snowflake Cloud Data Warehouse? Okay, so the answer is auto scaling,
Zero copy
cloning,
time travel, multi-clustering, virtual warehouse,
multi-cluster warehouse,
all data is compressed and
all the data is compressed, encrypted,
by
and
stored in columnar
format. Okay. So data stored in columnar format. There are some databases now like S4 HANA. Data is stored in columnar format. Okay. So except the columnar format, rest all are unique features. Okay. So we don't have any. This feature won't be available in any other database warehouse or other databases. Okay, so why? And the next question is why Snowflake is 5-star cloud data warehouse?
Because true separation.
Okay, so the answer is
true separation of the storage.
Separation of storage and compute.
Zero copy.
This means Snowflake will charge separately for storage and separate cost for which virtual warehouse we are using. Which means extra small, medium, large, extra large, etc. Okay, and the next one is
zero
copy cloning,
data share, memory cache, and the time
and
data share, memory cache, and the time travel.
So memory cache in the sense query for the first time, so the data it will get and stored in a query result cache. So when we re-execute the same query again, then it won't hit the Snowflake database table. The query result it will be reused. Okay, it will stay there for 24 hours. Okay, and the last one is time travel. Okay, and so the next question may come up with what is PaaS and SaaS. PA PaaS versus
SaaS. Provide the
SaaS
software tools available
versus
on the internet and the people use
LA.
and developing the application.
Yes.
Software
Few people may will ask this question. Okay, so if your experience is high, like 8 years, 5+ years, 10+ experience, I'm talking about the overall your previous experience. also. Okay, so this pass is basically, it provides the hardware and software tools available over the internet and use those tools to develop the application. So here, platform as a service, we don't require any hardware and software, so we will completely dependent on the internet. So there only we will utilize those tools, and if you want to build an application, we can build it. Okay, and SaaS, software as a service. So software available over the internet for the users. Pay as you want, and subscribe it and pay in a monthly and yearly. So SaaS is Snowflake is a SaaS, software as a service. Okay, so here we don't require any hardware setup. So how much volume of the data we are trying to loading, unloading to Snowflake. So accordingly, Snowflake will charge for that. Okay, and the next one is loss. Sorry, not loss. IaaS, infrastructure as a service. So it will be a complete cloud-based services. Pay as you go for the services like storage, network, virtualization, etc. So this LAS, infrastructure as a service, will comes like AWS, Azure, GCP, etc. This and Amazon Redshift also will come. And some of the cloud platforms are there from IBM side, so those all comes under infrastructure as a service. Okay, and the next question we can expect. So, what exactly the difference between Snowflake and traditional databases? So, when the people used to say word traditional databases, so it's almost 99% we can consider it as the Oracle database. Okay. So the difference between the traditional database and Snowflake is the workload. So the workload, it will be in transactional and data warehouse in Oracle. So if you come to the Snowflake, it is purely a data warehouse. Okay, so if you do whatever the data loading activity or reports or dashboards or whatever it is, and if you want to make some changes, and these changes has to move to some development to production or development to quality, quality to production, so the cost may vary accordingly in Oracle. Okay, it is the deployment will be on premise. Okay, so when you come to the Snowflake, it will be on public cloud platforms like AWS, Azure, GCP. Okay, and coming to the cost wise, in Oracle, the cost is fixed. Okay, and Snowflake cost is not fixed. So if the ID is created and we are not utilizing that ID, then Snowflake will not charge anything. Okay, so how much data utilized by the user, accordingly Snowflake will charge. So there is no fixed cost here. And high availability and disaster recovery, which means in case if there is any something is happens and it is really difficult to recover the data in Oracle database, until unless if the organization is using backup system. Okay, so this backup server, this backup people will take the data from the main server on weekly basis. Okay, it will not be a daily basis. Okay, the reason behind here is when the backup team is trying to hitting the main server and trying to getting the backup of the data, the whole main server it will each and every step it will be filter and it will verify it, which is the updated data, which is the deleted data, what is the correct data it was maintained. So including from the configurations from scratch to bottom till top. So it will filter the complete main server. So this backup activity should not be taken in daily basis because the complete server may go down. Okay, so if many multiple users are trying to hitting the main server won't respond. It may go down. So it will impact the whole organization. So that's why the backup will be take in every weekly basis or every 2 weeks once or every monthly once. Okay, so before taking the backup, so in case if any disasters happens, then it is really to pull back the data. But in Snowflake, what will happen is, even in the entire Snowflake is disasters happens due to some X reasons. Ideally, 99.9% there won't be a chance to delete the data or crash the Snowflake. In case if something is happened, still we can get 100% data from the cloud platforms. In case if the Snowflake is hosted on AWS or Azure or GCP, from their cloud platforms we can pull the 100% data. Okay, so here the data is fully safe, and automatic scaling up and scaling down functionality we don't have in traditional database. In Snowflake we have it. And coming to the software installation required, upgradation, patch updation is required in Oracle or traditional databases, but Snowflake we don't have that. And the partitioning, so when we are trying to loading a huge volume of the data in a traditional database, it is our responsibility. Manually we have to define the partitions and sub partitions, etc. But in Snowflake, so it will automatically taken care by Snowflake. Okay, and in case if there is any statistics related information, so it is not recommended to load a statistical huge volume of the data into Oracle database. When I say statistical data, which is purely dependent on so how can I say, whoever having data scientist experience or knowledge on data scientist, so I'll give one best example. So whoever humans feel themselves they are ugly and they want to go for surgery, then they will go for a lot of surgeries, right? Cosmetic surgery, this is the base one. So there are some advanced technologies also there. So there they will calculate the beauty. Okay, so based on the calculation of the beauty, the measurements it will took from the people before going to surgery. So those measurements, based on the measurements, they can adjust it and they will give you the what do you call, the after surgery is done. So your face or your body places, it may look and feel is like this, and they will give you in a 3D representation format. So that type of data calculation, it will be a kind of statistical data. So that data, it is not recommendable to load in Oracle database or any traditional database. Okay, so in Snowflake, it is automatically capture this kind of data also. So nothing to manage it. Okay, and the next question is, so Snowflake is OLAP or OLTP. So Snowflake is completely designed for OLAP. OLAP is online analytical processing. Okay, depending on the usage, you can use it for online transaction processing also. So it is moreover like Snowflake is support OLTP and OLAP, but mainly it is designed for OLAP. Okay, and already Redshift also it is there. It is moreover like all features what we have in Snowflake. It is almost, not completely, it is almost having the same features in Redshift. So why still people or organizations still go ahead with Snowflake instead of Redshift? The reason behind here is Snowflake's charge separately for storage and compute in the sense virtual warehouse sizes. Okay, but in Redshift it will charge it will charge in a combination of storage and processing. Okay, so that it is bit highly difficult for us to calculate how much amount it is charged by Redshift for data storage, and which processor it is giving charging this much. So it is really difficult for us to validate that, but in Snowflake it will give you separately, so that whether so how much volume of the data, which warehouse we can choose it, so that we will get a complete clear picture on that. Okay, and Snowflake support JSON based functions, and some of the related JSON related queries also will supported by Snowflake, but Redshift it won't support. Okay, and Snowflake is completely automated, so 98% is automated. Okay, but in Redshift it is not like automated. It is I can say like 10 to 20% it is automated in Redshift. Okay, so this is the difference. And on the next question, Snowflake account can be hosted on. So Snowflake account can be hosted on. So this is the question. The answer it would be either AWS or Azure and Google GCP. Okay. So the Snowflake editions. Okay. So before talking about the Snowflake edition, in case if the organization not able to afford these cloud platforms, Azure, GCP or AWS, then only Snowflake they can use it. Yes, they can use for only Snowflake account. Okay, so Snowflake also is an blob storage. Okay, so with the help of command line interface, we can unload the data to Snowflake. Okay, and so whenever we creating a Snowflake account and which region we are chosen, the same region should be maintained in the account in AWS. So if the regions are different, then while transferring the data from Snowflake account to AWS account or AWS to Snowflake, it may charge a bit extra. So if the regions are same, then the data transition will be fast, and cost wise also it will be charged very minimal. Okay, and when we create the next question is, when we create a database, what will be the default schema? It is public schema, and some people they will call it as the public and information schema, both are same. Okay, so when we create a Snowflake account, by default it will be a system admin role. Okay, so let me log in. we create a Snowflake account, so by default it will be a system admin. So here in the left side we could see, right? So account admin, system admin, public security admin, and user admin. So by default it will be a system admin only. Okay, and so any query if you execute, every query execution has its own query ID. Query ID should not be same for two statements. Okay, don't confuse it. Every query execution, it has Snowflake own query ID. Okay, and some people they may ask you, so when you select the database, so these are the database consistents. So what are the database consistents in Snowflake? So tables, views, schema, stages, file formats, sequences, and pipes. Okay, and how many ways we can load the data into Snowflake data warehouse? So one is external stage, which means AWS, Azure, GCP. And internal stage, user stage, table stage, and named stage. Okay, so in external stage, what is the default external stage? AWS is the default, and internal stage, which is the default one, user is the default one. Okay, and Snowflake web console. Snowflake web console means in the database, select the database tab and select the database name, and which table level if you want to load it, you can select the table and click on load table. Here you can load it. Okay, so this, the last option, we will not use it and it is not recommendable to use it. Okay, so one drawback here is to load the data through web console. If you create a table on system admin, then only those tables only we can able to view it here. Owner is system admin. So if you create a table on account admin, that table it won't be visible here. That means account admin created tables, we cannot load the data directly through web console. Okay, so the next question is why it is not recommended to use Snowflake web console. The reason is, if you directly load a file directly through Snowflake web console, which means selecting the table and directly loading from our local desktop or whatever it is. Okay, so some of the performance tuning activity won't be performed, like multiple micro partitioning, compression, and some of the performance tunings won't be applied. So if you load the file directly into Snowflake Web Console. Okay, so if you load a file through external stage or internal stage, then it will apply 100% in the background. Okay. And so in which scaling policy is chosen by default. So scaling policy when we are going for a warehouse. So here we will get a lot of questions. So we are working as a Snowflake developer, right? So when you are working as a Snowflake developer, do you have permissions directly to create a warehouse?
No.
So the interview will ask like this. So the answer should be no. By default, I do not have access to create a warehouse until unless the Snowflake admin give the permissions to create a Snowflake warehouse. Okay, so when we create a warehouse, so the default scaling policy is standard. Okay, and here you will get the sizes, the list of sizes. These sizes is not fixed. So based on Snowflake edition, accordingly,
They will change.
these sizes may vary. Till here is 6x large. So if the organization want more servers, then accordingly the Snowflake will configure for that organization. Okay. And the next question is why I'm not able to view the minimum cluster. So minimum cluster is hiding for me. So the reason is if we choose the maximum cluster 1, then the minimum cluster field will be hide because there is no minimum cluster before 1. So the servers will start from 1. So if we take an example of any organization in the entire world, so the employee IDs will start from 1 except the Apple company. Okay. So in Apple, who is the author for Apple? Steve Jobs, right? So Steve Jobs got employee ID is second. So he always hate for second. He will be always in a first position. So that's why he invented employee ID starts from 0. So there is no after 0 there is no nothing is there, right? So it will start from 0. So that's why Steve Jobs employee ID is 0 and the next one employee ID 1. So that's why he only did that thing. He took the patent rights and he took that 0 employee ID for him. Okay, except Apple, every organization starts with employee 1 only. Okay, so here the same way, so the servers will start from 1 only. Okay, that's why, so there is no minimum, so maximum cluster itself 1, so there is no minimum. So if you choose second, then we can able to view it. Okay, and here what is auto suspend? So what will happen if I set the auto suspend time limit for 5 minutes and my query is running more than 5 minutes? What will happen? So if the query is running more than 5 minutes, then automatically the query will be cancelled or aborted. So until unless which warehouse is executed till 5 minutes, for that Snowflake will charge for us. Okay, so that is as a Snowflake developer, I can say this as a drawback. But as a Snowflake expert, this is not a drawback because there is no concept called partial caching in Snowflake. So this is a valid reason. Okay, and here you will get auto resume, right? So In case I select the warehouse is extra small and I'm loading 10 millions of records. So I choose the maximum clusters 10 and minimum cluster 1. So what will happen is Snowflake automatically understood. So the data which is loaded into Snowflake is huge volume of the data. Then immediately Snowflake will add additional clusters up to 10. So same virtual as warehouse size extra small, it will be 10 virtual warehouses it will be added, and these 10 virtual warehouses will work on at a time on the this 10 million records. Imagine one person, if one person is working for uh, 8 hours and how much work he can able to do. Imagine if 10 people working on the same work, they can finish in uh, within maximum 1 hour before they can finish the work, right? So the same way here. So at the time these 10 servers run apply in the data, and within fraction of seconds the data will get loaded. Once the data get loaded, then immediately these 10 clusters will come into one cluster, which is this 10 virtual warehouses, it is divided up to 10, right? So from 10 to it will spin down to one virtual warehouse. So this is auto resume. Okay, so automatically Snowflake will take care here. And here another question you may get it here, what is standard and economy? Standard in the sense, imagine if 10 queries are running and once the first query is completed, immediately system identify, yes, there is another query is waiting to be executed. So system immediately detects and it will start executing a second query once the first query is completed. This is the standard. So if you choose economy, so what will happen is the same scenario. 10 queries are waiting in the queue and the first query is completed. System will take some time to identify the query which is waiting to be executed. Okay, it will take some time. It is based on the configuration. So 1 to 5 minutes or 1 to 6 minutes, accordingly it will wait it based on the how they are configured in the background. Okay, so these are the two differences. Okay, so and another question from here is, so what will be the auto suspend time limit in our production system?
1 hour.
So if they'll ask this question and you are keeping in our CV as a Snowflake developer, so you can say straightly, I have never get a chance to look what is the auto suspend time limit for set in the production system, because Snowflake developer they will never have access in the live system. Only account admin people have the access rights to change the auto suspend time limit. Okay, so ideally in the auto suspend they will give maximum 3 hours. They will give. Live system will have trillions and billions of data. Okay, and whenever we want we can stop and we can start it. Okay, so resume is nothing but a start, suspend is nothing but a stop. Okay, don't confuse these two words. And the next question, so Snowflake supported file formats. So Snowflake supports structure and semi-structure file format. Structure file formats are CSV. Semi-structure file formats are JSON, XML, barcode, ORC, and AVR. Okay. And the frequent question they will ask you how to delete duplicate records in Snowflake. Duplicate records. So imagine this is the table, employee table having duplicate data. So now you want to delete the duplicate data. So it is always recommendable to create one temporary table. Create or replace transient table, because I said temporary table, which means transient table. Temporary table, don't forget the table types. That is different. So it is always better whenever you create a table in development, you should be always in a transient table. Don't create a standard table, which means permanent table don't create. Okay, I'm creating a table called employee. So after that, what I'll do is I'll insert the data into temp underscore emp table, select distinct star from employee. So by doing this, what will happen is this selects this distinct keyword will collect only unique records. Those unique records will be moved into the table temp underscore emp. Okay. So now what we can do is, now you can apply alter table temp underscore emp swap with employee. By doing this, what will happen is the unique records will be available in this table. By applying swap, the unique records will be moved into the table employee. So now employee table having unique records. Now you can delete the table. Drop table. Table name is temp underscore emp. So no need to move the data. So by applying a swap, what it will do is the unique data will be moved directly into this table. If this table having a production table, then automatically it will reflect the data in the production table. Okay, so this is how we have to delete the duplicate records. And so you will get how to check the retention period for the particular table. So the answer is by executing show tables like table name. So you will get to know what is the retention period is set for the table. So by default, what is the retention period? By default, what is the retention period set for the table? By default, 1 day it will set. This is applicable for permanent transient table. Okay. And how we can disable the time travel feature. So time travel is purely dependent on table retention period. Don't forget. Okay, so how to change the retention period or how to disable the time travel feature or how to disable the retention period by executing alter table name, set data retention time in days equal to 0. If you specify 0, which means you are disabling the time travel or retention period. Okay. So if you use, by default it will be 1. 1 is the default. And up to 90 days. And 0 is okay. So what will happen if the retention period is over? So once the retention period or the time travel is over, then the data automatically go and get registered in the fail-safe zone. No user operations performed. Snowflake developer, Snowflake admin people, they don't have rights to pull the data from fail-safe zone, and the data, it will stay there for 7 days. Okay, so still if we want to get the data which is get registered in the fail-safe zone, then we have to contact to Snowflake support team. For that they will charge bit extra. Okay, and how many ways we can travel back? Okay, so by using offset, by using before, by using
Timestamp.
offset
Timestamp.
by, yes, yeah, thank you, by using timestamp. So offset is, we have to indicate how many hours or how many minutes we want to travel back. Before class we will use it for if we have a query ID. By using query ID, we can use the before class, and the timestamp is basically if you want to travel for the specific date, so you can specify the timestamp. Okay, and so Snowflake architecture is called as multi-cluster shared data architecture. Okay, and so you will get. So what is the problem with shared architectures? The answer is scalability is limited, and it is hard to maintain the data in a consistency across the clusters, and it is a bottleneck of communication with the shared disk. Okay, and what is the problem with the shared nothing architecture? Okay, so the answer is, if a node want to refer a data from different node, then the data must get shuffled between the nodes. What if a node fails? The data which is stored in the disk must get shuffled between the nodes. Such failures will impact the whole performance of the system. Okay. In shared nothing, the next question they may expect. So in shared architecture, and each node is responsible for what? The answer is each node is responsible to store the data on the disk. Okay. And the next question, what are the layers in Snowflake? Okay, what are the layers in Snowflake, or what is Snowflake architecture? Both are same only. Data storage layer or database layer, both are same. Virtual warehouse layer or processing layer, both are same. Cloud services layer or management layer, both are same. Okay, so total 3: data storage layer, virtual warehouse layer, cloud services layer. Okay, so I hope you guys are already aware what is data storage layer, virtual warehouse layer, and cloud services layer. And the next question is, what are the services provided by the cloud services layer in Snowflake? So the answer is, first one is authentication and access control, and the second one is metadata information storage, and the third one is query optimization, and the fourth one is transaction, and the fifth one is security. So these all features is completely handled in cloud services layer. Okay. And the next question is, how Snowflake processing the queries? By using virtual warehouse layer. So without virtual warehouse layer, we cannot execute or we cannot run a query in Snowflake. So it is a mandatory. So virtual warehouse is nothing but a processor, right? Without processor, we can't do anything. I hope you guys are already aware. So without processor also, we can start the we can start our computers. The reason is, for starting the computers, so the complete BIOS will run on RAM only. So for starting a laptop or desktop or servers, processor is not a mandatory, but RAM is a mandatory. But once it is opened system, then whatever you want to performing activity, for that processor is needed. Okay, so these kind of questions you will get it only if you have a 10 years experience, guys. Okay, and so without writing SQL queries, can we able to view the data in Snowflake?
Yes.
No, without writing SQL queries, we can't view the data directly in Snowflake because the data is completely encrypted. Okay, and the next question is, how do you disable cache result or Snowflake database result cache? How you can disable the cache result? Which means when we execute the query for the first time, it will go and hit the data storage layer. Okay, so when you re-execute the same query, then the query result will be reused. It won't go again and hit the data storage layer. Okay, so here cache result it is utilizing. So if you execute a number of times, so it will use the query result reuse only. So Snowflake will charge for the first time only. So after that, how many times you executed, Snowflake will not charge for that. Okay, so if you want to disable this functionality, so how you can disable is by executing alt session set use cache result equal to false. By default, it will be a true. If you want to disable the cache result, so you can execute this statement. So it will be disabled. We should never disable cache result in live system. Okay, so of course you guys may won't have access in the live system first of all. So if at all, if you guys having access, don't disable this. Even though if you get email from your end user or consumer, please disable the cache result. No, you should never disable the cache result. Okay, and the next question is, how many ways to access access the Snowflake Cloud Data Warehouse? Or what are the different ways to access the Snowflake Cloud Data Warehouse? One is SnowSQL, nothing but a CLI command line interface, ODBC driver, JDBC, and Python, and finally web user interface. Okay, so these are the ways we can connect to Snowflake. And what are the data security features in Snowflake? Okay, so the answer is Snowflake encrypts all the customers' data by default using end-to-end encryption. End-to-end encryption using the latest security standards available in the market with no additional cost. Okay, Snowflake provides the best-in-class key management, which is entirely transparent to the customers. Okay, so this end-to-end encryption, which is not by user configurable. Snowflake by default, it is automatically using end-to-end encryption. So this is not configurable. So you will get a question, so how you can encrypt the data in Snowflake? So the answer should be Snowflake by default, it is using end-to-end encrypted format, and it is not user configurable. Okay. And how the data compression works in Snowflake? So by default, the compression technique will be completely handled by Snowflake, and also this is not configurable by the user. Okay, so once the compression is applied, after that only Snowflake will charge for us. Okay, before that it won't charge. And okay, so what is the difference between time travel and failsafe? So the answer is, if you do any wrong table operations on table, and if you want to travel back to get the older version of the data, then we can use the time travel in Snowflake. So what is the retention period is set for the table that will tell us how long we can travel back. So this failsafe is, once the retention period is over, Snowflake automatically takes the backups of the data once the retention period is over. The data, it will stay there for 7 days in failsafe zone, and no user operations allowed. Only Snowflake can help us to recover the data. Okay, so what is zero copy cloning? Why people are calling it as zero copy cloning? So when we will go for zero copy cloning is, let's imagine we have a production table having some billions of records. Okay, so there are some lot of records has to be corrected. So that case, ideally it is not a good idea to go directly and hit the production table to make the correction. So that's the reason, if you apply a clone on a production table, the complete production table data will be moved into the development table. For this, Snowflake will charge 0. Okay, so once the data is available in the development table, you can correct in the development system. Then with the help of swap, we can move this data from development system to production system with the 0 cost, which means here the deployment is 0. Okay, and the next question will be, what is horizontal scaling and what is vertical scaling in Snowflake? Horizontal scaling is when you have to support additional users, you can use auto scale and increase the number of virtual warehouses to support and fulfill more user queries. And vertical scaling in the sense, when you have a huge workload and you want to run it faster, you can choose the large warehouse. Okay, so horizontal scaling is basically, so maximum clusters and minimum clusters will applicable, and vertical scaling is choosing a larger warehouse. If we have a huge workload or huge volume of the data and extra small is won't sufficient for this kind of volume of the data, then we can go ahead with choose the bigger warehouse size. Okay, so and the next question is what type of tool it is? Snowflake, or Snowflake is an ETL tool? Yes, Snowflake is an ETL tool. It consists of 3 steps. One is extract, load, copy. Extract means data file supports multiple formats like JSON, CSV, XML, etc. And load. Load is data load into external or internal staging area. Copy is we will load the data from internal or external staging area into Snowflake database table by using copy into command.